When I was 21, fresh out of college and still clinging to the dream that hard work pays off, I landed a job that felt like a golden ticket, nannying for a family so wealthy they made celebrities look like minimalists. The mansion was straight out of a magazine, glass walls, an indoor waterfall, even a wine cellar that was temperature controlled with a touch screen. I worked 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week, practically raising their 3 young kids while Linda, the mother, sipped green juices and floated between spa appointments and charity galas. At first, she treated me like a trusted confidant. I got paid generously, was given full access to the house, and eventually they stopped hiding the jewelry and even left me alone without the security cameras turned on. That level of trust should have been flattering. Instead, it was a setup. One day, Linda offered me $800 to plan an extravagant garden party for her. Her only condition, I could attend, but I wasn't to mention I was the help. I agreed, partly for the money, but also out of naive curiosity. I had never been to one of these luxurious events, and I secretly hoped to brush shoulders with someone powerful, or maybe even meet a rich, charming guy who'd sweep me off my feet. The weeks leading up to the party were chaos. I coordinated everything: vendors, decorators, seating charts, even imported peonies from Amsterdam. Meanwhile, I overheard Linda on the phone with her friends bragging about how she was personally managing every detail while raising 3 kids without any help. That stung, but I let it slide. The money was good, and my ego could take the hit. Or so I thought. The night of the party, I wore a $300 dress I'd saved up for months to buy. As I pulled into their circular driveway, lined with white roses and valets in black gloves, I actually felt proud. That feeling lasted approximately 12 minutes. Inside, the chandeliers gleamed over the tables dressed in ivory linens, with guests who looked like they'd stepped off the cover of Vogue. Linda greeted me like we were old friends. Then, in the middle of a perfectly timed lull in conversation, she struck. "You know, Lily here had her first baby 2 years ago and still doesn't know how to change a diaper," she said with a tinkling laugh that reeked of poison. Everyone exploded in laughter. I forced a polite chuckle, but inside something cracked. Linda kept going. "She can't even keep the kids from crying unless she calls her nanny. Once, when her nanny didn't pick up, she had to call me. Remember that, Lily?" More laughter. Then came the stabs. Lazy, clueless, emotionally unstable, and all of it cloaked in the silk of just jokes. When someone toasted Linda's natural maternal instinct, I'd had enough. The payback. I excused myself and found the kids in the playroom. I made silly faces. 2 of them laughed immediately. The third, confused and left out, started crying. Seconds later, all 3 were wailing loud enough to drown out the string quartet. Then I walked back into the main room. "Linda," I said sweetly, "I think your kids need you. You've taken so many parenting classes. I'm sure you'll have them smiling in no time." She turned white. The crowd turned. She scooped up her youngest and began swinging him like a malfunctioning amusement ride. He screamed louder. So did the others. Silence fell across the party. Dozens of million-dollar eyes watched Linda completely unravel. I stepped in, picked up the littlest one, hummed our usual bedtime tune, and in moments they were calm. Someone clapped, then more. "Oh my God, you're amazing with kids," one guest gushed. "Do you freelance?" "I'd pay you double what she does," another chimed in. Linda's face burned red as the attention drifted away from her and onto me. The retaliation, I should have known it wouldn't end there. The next morning, I woke to 3 missed calls from Linda and a text. "You're fired. Return the key." Expected. What wasn't expected was the delivery man waiting in my building's lobby with a bouquet so massive it needed its own cart. The note read, "Loved your poise last night. Let's talk. Madison Montgomery." I remembered her, diamond dripping, elegant, dangerous. I hadn't even known her name. Before I could decide whether to call her, I got a text from Sophia, a friend who worked for another elite family. "Girl, what did you do? Linda's telling everyone you stole her pendant." What? That pendant was in her walk-in closet, in a drawer I never even opened. But Linda had already filed a police report, required by her insurance, she claimed when I called her, shaking. This wasn't about revenge, it was about destruction. The new ally. With no options, I called Madison. She picked up on the first ring. "I've been expecting you," she said calmly. "Linda's very predictable. She invited me to lunch at an elite restaurant I'd only ever seen tagged on Instagram by influencers. I wore my best outfit, which still made me look like a waitress compared to the crowd. But when I said Madison's name, the doorman personally escorted me to her table. She didn't waste time. Linda's trying to blacklist you, but here's the secret. No one actually likes her. They tolerate her because of her husband's investments. Madison ran a private agency for elite domestic staffing. She'd watched me at the party and had already done her research. You handled the children like a professional, and you exposed a fraud with more grace than most people at this table could manage. I want you to work for one of my top clients. Triple your pay. But you'll need thicker skin, because if you're going to survive in this world, you have to learn. The rich don't play fair, but they do play favorites. Today, you became mine. I started my new job just a week later. Madison didn't send me to another picture-perfect family. No, this one was something else entirely. The Barrows were American royalty. Think old money, generational wealth, a private island in the Keys, art on their walls worth more than Linda's entire net worth. Their children were older, 12 and 9, and they didn't need diaper changes or lullabies. They needed handling. I wasn't hired just to care for them. I was brought in to keep them out of the headlines. The moment I stepped into the Barrows' Manhattan penthouse, I knew the game had changed. Their home had a private elevator that opened into a marble foyer the size of my entire apartment. Every surface gleamed like it had never been touched. Mrs. Barrow, Margot, greeted me wearing silk and tension. Her handshake was cold, her smile tighter than her facelift. "Madison speaks highly of you," she said, eyeing me up and down like I was a sculpture at auction. "Let's see if you live up to the investment." Her husband, Charles, never appeared in person, only through murmurs and the occasional helicopter landing on the rooftop. Their kids, Aria and Beck, were like mini adults with access to credit cards and secrets. The first time I met them, Beck asked me if I'd ever done blow. He was 9, but I didn't flinch. Madison had warned me, don't try to be their friend. Earn their respect. Never let them see fear. I survived the first week. Then came the fundraiser, the Crimson Fund Gala. It was the kind of event where billionaires bid on endangered species and then take selfies beside them. I wasn't supposed to attend, but Aria refused to go unless her new nanny came too. Margot rolled her eyes and relented. I was loaned a black designer gown, a diamond bracelet, and strict instructions to speak only when spoken to. Halfway through the night, while keeping an eye on the kids and trying not to spill my champagne, I noticed someone staring at me from across the room. Linda. She looked different, bitter, desperate. She'd clearly heard about my new employment. She stalked toward me like a panther in heels. "Wow," she sneered. "Upgraded, I see. Funny. Did you tell this family how you manipulated my children into crying on command?" Before I could respond, someone stepped between us, Madison. "Linda," she said, her voice like silk over steel, "you're not invited to this table." Linda turned red. She opened her mouth, then thought better of it. As she stormed off, Madison leaned in and whispered, "That was your first public test. Congratulations, but there's more coming." A few days later, while organizing the Barrows home library, I stumbled upon something strange, a leather folder stuffed behind a row of faux books. Inside were dozens of documents, non-disclosure agreements, confidential nanny files, psychiatric evaluations. One document made my blood run cold, a report from a woman named Elise, a nanny before me. Dismissed quietly, no explanation, but her final note read, He's watching, they all are. This family doesn't need a nanny, they need a witness, and if you're reading this, it's probably too late. Suddenly, I realized this job wasn't just a promotion, it was a test, and maybe a trap. That night, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror of the Barrows 43rd floor guest suite. I was wearing a $1,000 nightgown and standing in a bathroom bigger than my old living room. But I'd never felt less safe in my life, because now I knew the rich don't just destroy you, they recruit you, and I'd just been initiated.